Previously on part 1 of our adventure. Hello and welcome to Riptide presents Dungeons and Dragon Ranas. Here's a quick explanation for you. Dungeons and Dragons is essentially a role-playing game done live in person at a table where someone called a Dungeon Master has written up a storyline and they're kind of like a film director. They've created an action scenario. All the players have created characters, if you imagine them as wrestlers perhaps, where you have a persona, a look, a certain skill set, and you get dropped into the story, and then you have to try and reach the end of the quest. We've deliberately gone for a slightly more action-packed game. We're just going to go around the table, and I'm just going to introduce who's playing and what we're playing as. I am a half-orc, Baldur's Brawler. I'm a pugilist, which means basically I'm somewhere between a street fighter, a boxer, and a wrestler. Jen.
I am reprising an older character of mine called Thornton Heath. He's a warlock half-elf. He is evil, but he's in recovery, so it's okay. You're all safe for now. He has a familiar called Battersea, which is a little toad with little bat wings. And he can fly. I mean, he also is evil, but they have a bond.
So my name is Josh. I promote Riptide, and I will be playing as a slightly delusional, self-important ranger, and I try and take as much credit as I possibly can.
Right. And you are Prometheus.
Prometheus, yeah.
Very nice. And you have a familiar. Is it? All right.
He's a bear. He's called Bear.
And of course, the DM, the Dungeon Master, the man behind it all, is Tommy.
Hello. There is a travelling fairground called Dr. Thillylid's House of Uncertainty. The eponymous Dr. Thillylid, a large gangly clown, has been doing his best to entertain the circus goers with balloon animals, cheap parlour tricks and bad puns. Dissonant, howling laughter emanates from outside the tent. All of a sudden, the small part of the maze that you're in has become twisted and shifted. And as you turn that last corner, you can actually see an exit back out into the fairground. Hurry, friends! Exit quickly! It's collapsing! He introduces himself as Sir Harvey Humphrey, Watcher of Helm. He's obviously quite the cleric. You all hear the creak of wheels that kind of... And from the foggy distance, you hear hot dogs and candy floss as this huge, ogre-sized humanoid, Barfield the Butcher, now a corpse, but he's looking in all of your directions and just smiling a big grin with rotted teeth.
And now, the conclusion.
At this point, I'd like everyone to roll initiative. I'll roll for Sir Harvey. He did not do well.
8.
23.
23, nice.
Yeah.
Promo, you're going up there. So, as he's approaching you, he's come out of the fog and he's about 20 feet away. And you can smell this kind of like, this mix of like brine and rancid hot dog water and sweat. He's just walking towards you with a smile on his face now, but he is reaching into a compartment of the cart to bring something out. However, Prometheus, you're up next.
Yeah, I'm going to fucking put an arrow in his head. Yeah. As I draw my bow, I realise that perhaps the head is not where I need to be putting this arrow.
Okay.
And in fact, I need to be putting it into his arm as he goes down.
12. That is actually a hit.
Yay! Alright. Got your arm, mate.
He's not a particularly deft or well-armoured target.
1.
Oh no.
It flies into his hand. There's a grunt of pain. If it bleeds, we can kill it. Like he's Brawler.
I am going to use Salty Salute. At third level, you have mastered the art of an enraging insult. Provoke a creature within 60 feet who can see or hear you. The creature must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failure, the creature takes your fisticuffs damage die, which is a d6, plus your charisma modifier in psychic damage, and has disadvantage on any attack rolls it makes that do not include me as the target.
Ooh, nice.
I just say, I've got a chop for you, butcher.
So, wisdom saving throw?
It's not my finest.
So, he has to get a 13 or higher. He gets a natural 1. Just looks at you and just goes, "You rotter!" And then, like, as he says rotter, a couple of maggots just kind of fall out of his mouth that he'd obviously been keeping for later. You know, as a snack.
Look at your belly, mate. Get some exercise in here.
He seems a bit confused now. You also get to make a move and make an attack if you want.
Sure, yeah. Alright, yeah, screw it. I'm just going to run up and twat him with the old barbed wire baseball bat.
That's a hit, and it takes a nice chunk just out of his many chins.
Fucking
That's
awesome.
25.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Effed him in the A.
Pretty much.
However, now he's going to recover. He's going to reach into his hot dog and candy floss stand,
Yeah.
and he's going to produce a severed limb. He's actually going to try and backswing you. That's only a 12 in total, and so you're able to deftly duck and weave out of the way.
Just for fun, Steve Austin-esque, like flipping two birds right in his face.
Yeah, decent.
He looks at your fingers sort of hungrily, almost as if he wants them for a snack.
I put my fingers away.
Thornton.
How is he looking?
Pretty healthy. Well, no, not healthy. He's looking like a giant bloated floater of a corpse.
Okay.
Um,
I'm being a bit protective of my spells because I only have those 2 slots. I think I'll give him an Eldritch Blast to begin with, and then we'll see how it goes from there. That is a 22,
Yes, definitely a hit.
so 24 damage.
Wow. Just boom, like more of his flesh kind of starts to slough off, and you can actually see parts of his ribcage at this point.
All right. Prometheus gives the bear a look, catches the bear's eyes, and then looks over to the hot dog seller, Barfield the butcher, and kind of notions towards a little bit of intestine.
Just kind of hanging out there,
Just
in a
kinda-
tempting manner.
Yeah, exactly. In a tempting manner. Prometheus says to the bear, "Remember the last time we were in a butcher's shop?" Which did involve Bear running off with a large string of sausages.
Probably involved a hefty fine or something like that, yeah. Bear's going to wrinkle his nose a bit because these do not smell like good sausages.
Sure.
However, being your loyal companion,
Okay.
sometimes he's got to take one for the team.
Absolutely.
So yeah, D20 plus, 7.
It's 24.
He latches onto a bit of sausage.
10.
Wow, nice. Excellent.
Good bear.
Barfield doesn't seem too phased, although you can see a lot of intestines sloughing out of there. As long as Bear's got them in his teeth, there's probably going to be some automatic damage every round for Barfield. And now Harvey is going to get into the mix. But before he does, Barfield rings the bell on his hot dog stand, and you hear shuffling from the fog encircling you. And you see Sir Harvey looking around and going, "No! Back! How about you?" and starts running into the fog, and you just hear the thump of like his mace hitting flesh and bone. Prometheus, you're up next.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to line up Barfield's exposed organs for my own attack.
Yep.
And I shall draw my bow.
Excellent.
And see if I hit.
Yes. And then Brawler, you're up next. You're still duking it out with him.
I'm going to attempt my low blow. This is one of my heal moves with piss and vinegar.
Yep.
When you deal damage with an unarmed attack,
Yep.
you can choose to hit them below the belt.
Mm-hmm.
The creatures make a strength saving throw. On a failure, you gain 1 moxie point up to your maximum.
Ooh,
and
nice.
it is knocked prone.
Go for it.
I'm going to try clubbing.
Yep.
I think on the shoulders, as if I'm knighting him. One club on each shoulder.
Okay.
Right. So,
Ooh!
that's 25 for my first attack.
Yep, that's a hit. Yes.
Definitely knighted him. And now for the kick to the unmentionables. Yeah!
Before we do the damage, what saving throw does he have to make?
Strength saving throw.
He just makes it due to his crazy strength bonus.
Oh, will he kick? When will you work out for me? Well, I'm still going to tally up.
Yeah,
the
roll
damage.
up all that damage.
Yeah.
Stop.
34 damage.
So he's going to try 2 different things. One, he's going to swing wildly with his limb again.
Yeah.
That is a hit. 8 bludgeoning damage. He's holding hands with a severed arm, and it boom clocks you around the head. And the second thing he's going to try and do, Prometheus, with his left hand, he's clobbered the Boulder's Brawler. With his right hand, he's essentially Spider-Man a load of candy floss at you. It is now stuck to you.
Did we put candy for this?
Very so.
I'm going to need you to make a strength saving throw. So it's another D20. Not good enough. You start to be slowly dragged towards him. But we'll get to that another day. Thornton.
So, like, how much of his former life do you think he remembers? You know, he's shouting the hot dogs and candy floss, but is he just shouting it, or is this like a thing?
God, what would this be? Make an insight check, wisdom based.
5.
He's got pretty glassy eyes. You don't really get anything from that.
Well, in that case, Eldritch Blast.
Yeah, cool.
Give me another one.
That's a hit.
13 plus 11, so 24.
In total.
Points of damage, yeah.
Nice.
It's the 2 beams again.
At the moment, half of his rather obese torso is actually missing at this point. A lot of him is now missing.
Yeah, it is just a case of taking him apart, isn't it?
Bear is going to continue. He's going to do automatic damage. The last of Barfield's intestines come out. He's now creaking spine, trying to support this like massive imbalance of weight that he's just suffered.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of perception checks from everyone, please.
20, not natural.
21 in total.
9.
You're the lucky one. You guys see too much. As more of him comes away, you see, instead of what you'd expect to be internal organs, you can just see plastered around the inside of his cavernous guts are just screaming faces. I'd like you both to make wisdom saving throws, please.
16.
25.
25.
I rolled a 19, and
you
I've got
plus-
proficiency in my wisdom.
Nice.
Plus 6.
You're both actually all right. You're grossed out at worst. And then when he goes, hot dogs and candy floss, again, the screaming faces all like match him. They mouth hot dogs and candy floss as that's happening.
That's awful.
I've seen worse down the Mermaid Inn at
Have you?
time.
Have you, though?
From behind you, you just hear, "Back, you fiends!" From Sir Harvey, and just the detonation of like a spell going off. He appears to be handling this fine, so yeah, good for him. Prometheus, you're being dragged towards Barfield. As you're being pulled in inexorably closer, he's lifted one of the lids from his hot dog stand. You haven't seen the screaming face motif before. This is a new one on you. These two have seen it. I'd like a wisdom saving throw from you, please.
7.
That's not quite enough to not get freaked out, unfortunately. It's going to be 8 psychic damage to you.
My brain.
And you notice that his large, clammy hand is now on the back of your head and it's trying to force you down into it. However, you will get to act. Your bow's probably not going to be much use, though.
I go for my short sword, but my hand just slips. But thankfully, I find a dagger.
Nice. Yes, at this point you are sort of a bit like fumbling around. Right.
Absolutely.
That does make sense.
So I have my dagger and I go for a single upward thrust.
That hits, yeah. 7, nice. There's another, and you actually think you've managed to get it into an eye, which is good. And yeah, you're back up. He's staggered back a little bit. He's no longer trying to make you into candy floss. Brawler.
Is that dagger still in his eye?
I'm going to go with yes.
I would like to run and swing for my first attack and try and bash it all the way through his head.
Nice.
Like a hammer with a chisel.
Go for it.
That's 23.
Roll your usual damage and then add a d4 onto it as well.
Okay. 11.
So yeah, as you kind of like battered up and just boom, you just hear a dogs and candy, and all of a sudden this huge, half destroyed, ogre-sized walking corpse just staggers back and
Thank God for that.
just falls back into the ground and stops moving.
I motion for someone to lift my hand up in victory.
All of a sudden, Sir Harvey comes back in and he sees what's going on. He goes up, raises your hand.
Yeah! Yeah!
A triumph for law and order and best behaviour. Well done, well done.
Yeah. Snatch my hand away and have a go at the ref. I mean the knight.
All of a sudden you hear another kind of a similar crackle of static, and it sounds like it's coming from a magic mouth of some sort, which is the D&D equivalent of a tannoy system, really.
Gotcha.
Will the adventuring party of 3 please report to the big top, where their inevitable and grisly end is waiting for them?
I'm going to say no. Because he already told us what it's going to end.
I mean, I'm looking around at this fucking dork. and it's like, we'll either hang out with him...
or we'll meet our inevitable grisly end.
Or we die and maybe get out.
Did you hear that, friends? The source of evil is this way. It lies yonder. Follow me into glory.
Has he got like a coin purse I could try and swipe? Just while we're stood here.
No. Clerics of Helm, they're not really big on flashing the cash or anything.
They spend all their money on their fucking protest signs.
Protest signs, shield polish, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Oh god, I hate this guy.
You're welcome to have a look around. However, when you came out, what was open fields is now just this giant iron wall.
Right.
That just stretches up to this purple sky. So, Sir Harvey has come back and you've heard this announcement. Will the adventuring party of, well, it's now 4, I suppose, please report to the big top for a horrible and mutilated death type thing?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's 4. It's definitely 3. It's a party of 3.
I mean, we're not
plus
even.
1.
We're not even, whoever is announcing this hasn't even considered the bear to be,
Which is offensive.
Yeah, oh, totally.
Before we go to the big top, I mean, we just did out in the open. Should we have a short rest, or do we just go straight for it? Because it might be the last chance to heal if people want to do it.
How are you doing with hit points?
Yeah, I'm 8 down.
If you fine fellows need to rest and recuperate, I shall stand watch.
I think that's an invitation. It's like getting that save point before.
Exactly. Let's have a little rest to poo.
So for a short rest, you don't get any spells back, but you can heal.
I do get my moxie points back. For
Excellent. And you haven't used any spells, Jem, but you would have got them back.
I know.
Damn shame.
I could have fireballed him.
So you slowly and cautiously make your way towards the main circus tent, which has now changed, and it's kind of all of this new metallic structuring and cabling coming off of it, and it just looks unsettling and a lot bigger than you remember it.
I'm going to lean over to Prometheus and sort of say, I bet you, at the end of this adventure, 1 gold piece, I come out with more HP than you did.
You have no idea what he's talking about, because HP isn't really a,
I come out.
in character, it's not really a thing. Oh no, I'm going to take it easy. I've only got 3 HP remaining. It's not the sort of thing that
I bet you I'll come out looking healthier and shinier than you do.
There we go.
I like those odds.
Alright. 1 gold piece it is.
1 gold piece it is.
As you're traversing this this kind of 100-foot detritus-strewn foggy plain, you do see a few. They obviously used to be humans staggering out through the fog. The humans have changed somewhat. Some of them now have these vestigial tentacles coming out from what used to be their limbs. Some of them just have their heads at different angles from what they used to be. They usually skirt away from you, and they're normally scared away by anyone that's waving a torch. At one point, you'll fire a warning arrow, and they're keeping their distance. But they obviously used to be the circus goers, and you notice a fair few of them as you enter the big top.
I just want to stress, I reached my hand out to shake hands and high five a few, and every time they reach out, I just pull my hand back.
Maybe a dexterity saving throw. Just for one thing. You're fine. You managed to do the run your hand. Does your character have hair?
No, but
run your hand over your scalp.
Yeah.
Give it a psych. So as you walk in to the big top, you open the flap, and you're in pitch darkness, and this is magical darkness. All of a sudden, about 40 feet away from you, boom! There is a spotlight focused on a clown with its back to you in the dead centre of the circus tent. Why did you kill my candy floss man? He wasn't integral to my plans or anything, but he made very nice candy floss.
It wasn't sweet enough.
Who are you?
I'll tell you who we are. I slap you on the chest. Tell them who we are.
I'll tell you who we are. There, tell them who we are.
You can just see he's raised his hand. There's a comically sized watch on his hand that he's just staring at intently. He's going. None of you have never been to the circus before, have you? I mean, not a real circus, not like this circus.
No, not like this circus.
In that case, I think it's time for my final act. The lights come up. You're inside this huge circus ring. The stands, they're dim lights and they're filled with these kind of shadowy figures that you can't quite make out. But as he said, final act, they've sort of burst out into mild applause. Anyone who tries to focus on them too much, their features shift a little bit. The circus tent itself, the inside of it, is relatively bare. There are 2 cannons on either side. There is also a large mirror, bigger than like any of the others you've seen, with a wheel of fortune next to it. And at this point, the clown, who you recognise as Dr. Thillylid, he's starting to change. His limbs have started to elongate. He starts to become taller, and you can just hear this awful cracking and crunching. And he turns round and goes, "I'm going to taste your fear!" And I'd like everyone to roll initiative, please.
Oh, nice. 5.
5 for me too.
You get advantage on this.
Oh, thank God. 14.
Oh, nice. And roll for your bear, please.
Hey, pure 20 for the bear.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure the bear is the biggest hero in this adventure.
Definitely.
Yeah, totally.
Clever little bear. The bear satisfied
Hold
me.
just 1 second. So, as Dr. Thillylid turns round, that's not the clown that you saw before. It's similar to the creatures that you fought in the Hall of Mirrors. He now has a lot more teeth. He now has 2 sets of claws that probably stretch about a foot out of his fingers. He snaps his fingers. Immediately, 2 veils tear in reality, and these 2 tiny little cars come out. And out of them each
So
tumble...
what's a car?
Oh, snap.
2 metal carriages without the horses,
Now I'm freaked out.
moving of their own accord,
You're fucking kidding me.
come out, and out of them tumble each 6 quasits. Quasits are little kind of impy demon type things. Boom, 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 boom. A comical amount of them roll out. And again, they've got the clown makeup going on. And they start running towards these 2 cannons that are on either side of you. And the other thing that happens is that Dr. Thillylid strides. At first you thought he had normal sized legs, but they appear to extend as he walks. And he does the whoa, I've nearly lost my balance thing that a clown might do. Strides over to the Wheel of Fortune and he spins it. I'd like one of you can choose, whoever, to make me a D10 roll. I'm just going to say this now. Low is good for you, high is good for me.
I feel like it should be the bear. It seems to get the unstoppable rolls.
This isn't to do with any specific character. This is just someone make a
But
D10
we want
roll.
a bad roll on this.
I mean, I've been rolling some shockers. But...
Lay it on me, mate.
Alright,
Yeah,
well,
go
we're
for
on
it.
D10, was it?
Yeah.
D10.
We want it bad, yeah. That's a 10.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
Alright,
dear.
he gets eat first. He gets head first. This guy's useless. I push him forward.
Give me the push.
Mirror starts kind of roiling with this purple fog, and you see the occasional crackle of lightning coming through it. Nothing appears to happen at the moment.
Okay.
However, what Dr. Thillylid is going to do now, as his last action, he's started to giggle maniacally to himself as all of these things are happening around him. It is your go.
I am going to cast Cordon of Arrows
Nice.
around the party.
Prometheus has just done a little... He's grabbed 4 arrows out of his quiver, and he's just kind of done a little bit of a run around and doom, 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 stuck them in front of everyone. And as he's got back, he's kind of snapped his fingers, like mumbled something to himself, and the arrows have started to glow, and they look like they're just ready to fire off out of the ground at any minute. Sir Harvey is going to go next,
Oh, this will be good.
and he is going to shout something along the lines of, "This is why I've always hated circuses!" And he just starts storming over towards where the Doctor is stood, still giggling away to himself. At this point, the lightning that's roiling in the mirror next to the Wheel of Fortune comes to a head, and the lights briefly go down again, and you hear dong, dong. The lights come back up, and you see this huge 10-foot tall humanoid dressed all in black with a wide-brimmed hat.
Oh, motherfucker!
His eyes appear to be rolled into the back of his head,
I expect
and
Call of
the
Dead
lightning is
to work.
retracting from the mirror into his purple gloves.
God damn it!
His face is pale, he has a small goatee beard, and as Sir Harvey runs over, whoom, he whips out a hand and just lifts him off of the ground in the full plate mail, and you can just see the helmet on Sir Harvey's head slowly just begin to be crushed. And this creature, is just staring at him like that.
I mean, no big loss, though.
No, but now you guys get to go.
Well, we rolled the same, so we need a roll off again.
Okay. D20?
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys rolled the Undertaker. I'm so happy. 1 in 10 chance of
3
taker.
plus 1, so 4, yeah.
It's me next then. Right, so we've got the Doctor Clown, the Undertaker, and 6 little people.
They're
The not copyrighted.
there's
Undertaker, like,
there's
the-
actually
the Undertaker.
there's actually like 5 of them on each side. And at this point, while all this has been going on, they've lined up by the cannons. They've actually formed an orderly queue, and one of them, like on each side, appears to be manning the cannon.
How close are we to the Doctor Clown?
About 40 feet away.
And from the fake Undertaker? Let's call him something. I don't know what to
I
call
like
him.
Underfaker.
I mean, that's actually a WWE joke.
Oh, god damn it.
Gravedigger Mark.
Gravedigger Mark. Okay.
Gravedigger Mark is actually about 30 feet away from you because the mirror, the way it was all set up, Harvey ran about 30 feet and just boom got picked up by him.
I am going to go with video game logic here.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to run to the mirror and try and smash it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Are you going to try and use your with your club or fists?
I will try and use my fists with my knuckle dusters
Because they've got a little bit of magic on them. There is also a wrought black iron frame around this particular mirror. Are you going for the actual mirror itself, or
yeah, I'm going for
just
like
try and
mirrored
dismantle
glass.
it?
I'll try and just punch what I think is mirrored glass.
Cool.
With my
Okay.
first attack.
That's just going to be a straight up attack roll. You land a pretty solid hit. A certain low humming as you do that.
Okay. Well, for my second attack, I'll try hitting the frame. See if that makes a difference.
Right.
16.
That's enough to boom. It's raw iron, and so there's no real obvious dent in it or anything, but there's that same low humming going on. And can you only make me a perception check, please?
21.
Like I say, there is an audience, so to speak of, but they're shadowy and unknowable. You did see a few what you think are hands moving to mouths, like in the classic Macaulay Culkin shocked expression.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of "oh my" from that that side of the audience that only you can pick up on just because you're close to it. That's fine. Thornton, it's your turn.
So how far away from each other are the Doctor, Gravedigger Mark, and the Mirror?
I'd say they're all within about 10 feet of each other.
I'm going to cast Fireball on the Doctor, the Mirror, and Gravedigger Mark,
And Harvey.
Unfortunately Harvey.
These things happen.
There's collateral damage.
So this is going to be a dexterity saving throw from all of these people involved.
Okay.
So let me just. I roll.
Full damage on a fail, half on save.
Yes. So let's see how the Doctor does. Not very well. Gravedigger Mark doesn't have much in the way of dex, but that's fine. The mirror doesn't really move, so that's going to... Oh, but you're right up by the mirror as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're trying to attack the mirror. You need to make a dexterity saving throw as well.
Sorry.
And then Harvey is going to have disadvantage.
That's a critical fail of 1.
The good news is that you hit everyone with this at full damage. 8d6?
96.
Because level 4. Excellent.
I'm rolling. 27.
Okay.
Yeah, not great, unfortunately. Sorry.
I'm about half my health now.
Yes, to be fair, you have hurt your allies more than you've hurt your enemies.
Sorry, I thought I was only fucking Harvey.
But it was very funny.
So is that 27 each?
Yes.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah, it could be worse.
Yes, from my point of view.
So
I was pristine. Now I'm damaged goods.
oh, that's right. You have a bet.
There's this explosion, and you hear a chorus of horrified gasps from the audience. And then there's some screaming. From the doctor, you hear a bit of a oh! Borders Brawler, are you screaming at all? How are you selling this?
Like a fireball to the face. I'm sort of like reaching out, one hand out, one hand on my face, going oh.
And there's a certain hot from Sir Harvey.
I say the promo. I get half that gold piece.
yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So, Dr. Thillides is going to spring into action. He doesn't run, he just very swiftly floats towards you. Just, only a
floater.
Only a few inches off the ground. He grins at you, and he's going to make a couple of slashing attacks at you. First one is a 19, which probably hits.
Yeah.
8 slashing damage.
Okay.
And can you also make me a Constitution saving throw, please?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you've got proficiency in these things.
Yes. 18.
You're fine. The next thing he's going to do is, as he lifts a bloody claw back towards your face, you notice there's a small hard-boiled sweetie on it, and he just kind of raises an eyebrow. I'm going to get you to make me a Wisdom saving throw against accepting the candy from a stranger.
That's a critical fail.
That candy looks mighty tempting, and all of a sudden it's just in your mouth. This is fine. You don't know why he's offered you it. It's actually quite tasty.
Well, I didn't have parents growing up, and so I wasn't given sweeties. So why would I say no now?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
no one ever said stranger danger.
On the inside, I'm going, Daddy.
At this point, 2 of the little Quasit demons are going to jump into the cannons, and they are going to be the little Quasits in charge. They've got little engineer hats. They're going to angle the cannons, and one is coming at you, and one is coming at you. Prometheus and Thornton, sorry for the benefit of the tape. I would like a pair of dexterity saving throws.
Yep. 11.
11, and
I'm a fantastic 8.
you both get hit full on. If you wanted, you could get Bear to use his reaction to try and do the "No, Mr. President" sort of thing. He'd take the brunt of it, but I'm just saying it's an option for you.
I'm not sure if my heart can handle that.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I will say very quickly, Battersea is a Quasit as well. What does that mean? Nothing? They're not really loyal to each other, are they?
No, they're both kind of demonic, which means that they kill each other for looking at each other funny. Pretty much,
Sure.
It's only the 15 bludgeoning damage to both of you as Quasits just fly out of the cannon and sort of hit you in the ribs, and then sort of break apart over you and splatter. It is Bear's turn next.
I'm going to send Bear after one of the engineers.
He's going to start lumbering over. He's not going to get there this round, but next round he might be able to wreak some havoc. And it's your turn now, Prometheus.
I'm going to heal this twat.
You'll have to run up to him and actually touch him for cure wounds.
Ah, yes.
He's within range. You can run up and try and cure him if you want.
Okay.
Tag me! I hold mine out for the tag and I turn it palm up.
Right.
And so if you wanted, you could use the second level for that.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Wow. Sacrifice for the team.
2d8 plus 3 in that case.
So
So
it's
10.
Thanks.
Excellent. So now you're pretty much in the thick of it as well, because you're both over by that mirror. Sir Harvey is going to try and break free. And he's clasped Gravedigger Mark's wrist. He's trying to channel fire into Gravedigger Mark's outstretched arm. And you can see it almost working. But now they're in a bit of stalemate. Those two aren't doing much at the moment. So Brawler...
What I want to do, I'm not sure if you'd allow this because it is taking the piss a bit, but it's quite creative.
But it's also a one-shot, so carry on.
Okay. So one of my special attacks is Pocket Sand. You can use a bonus action to attempt to blind a creature within 5 feet. Creatures make a Constitution saving throw. On a failure, you gain 1 moxie point up to your maximum, and it is blinded until the end of its next turn.
Okay, cool.
So, but I want to also, because I'm pretty good with sleight of hand, at the same time I'm throwing it, I want to spit this sweetie into his own face.
Yeah, the sweep will probably count as one of your attack actions.
We'll do that.
So he has to make a Constitution saving throw
Yes, and he's got pretty
against 13. Let's see how the Doctor does. Ooh, he only got a 12.
Yeah.
So he gets pocket sanded
Yeah.
as he's like giggling to himself and like leering over you to try and like deliver what looks like a bite. All of a sudden, phoom, out of your back pocket, you've been saving this. Just in his eyes. He puts the heels of his hands to his eyes in a very overly dramatic fashion as he's just been blinded.
Okay, and then as one of my 2 attacks, I'll try spitting the sweet in his mouth. 16.
Not quite enough, I'm afraid. You nearly get it in, and it just bounces off an incisor tooth.
Well, it's still out of my mouth.
It's out of your mouth, yes. In fact, now that you've spat it out, can you make me a Constitution saving throw, please?
Yeah. That's 11 in total.
No change. You got 1 more attack.
Yeah. Let's go with the Ric Flair chop. The old woo!
Woo!
Knife edge chop.
No.
Am I allowed to move, actually?
You can move. He will try and attack you, but it'll be a disadvantage because he's blinded.
Yeah, alright, let's give that. I'll try backing off nearer Thornton.
Fair. Alright, he's going to try and like lash out with his claws. So that would be a 2 and an 8. No. With the attack bonuses, no. Yes, you're able to move out of the way. So, it's the Doctor's turn again. He's rubbing his eyes, and then one of his hands just goes to the flower that is on his lapel, and he turns it up towards his eyes and squirts. It looks like a steaming liquid into both eyes, and he shakes his head about, opens his eyes. Parts of his eyes are missing at this point, but that doesn't seem to really bother him. He's just kind of looking around at all of you again. And the first thing that he's going to do is float over to you.
Sure.
You've eaten the candy, which gives him advantage on his next attack against
Send
you.
it back out.
It was too late. You accepted the candy. The deal was done. You're going to take another 15 slashing damage.
Right.
And another Constitution saving throw from you, please.
Nat 20!
Oh.
Very nice. You shrug off the stuff that's not bleeding. He's now going to turn over to Prometheus, and I take it you're familiar with the classic bit from It. Georgie just wants his boat back, and then all of a sudden he's got a face of Tim Curry's fangs like that.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting now.
Oh.
Thankfully, he rolls awfully, and you're able just to hold out a dagger and just like you just hear this almost like xylophone as all of his teeth go flying off the edge of your dagger.
Did you skip me?
Oh, wait, no, you would have been straight after
Yeah,
me.
because I'm supposed to be straight after him.
Let's call these legendary actions. Thornton, it's your go. Those things happened, by the way.
Just later.
Yeah.
This is a tough one. I'm going to attempt banishment on the clown, on the doctor.
So charisma saving throw against 16, right?
Yes.
His charisma is quite good.
Yeah, I figured.
He did not roll well. However,
Oh, fuck.
welcome to high level monsters, which have something called legendary resistance.
What does that mean?
It means that you can choose to succeed a saving throw rather than fail it.
Really?
The high level monsters have it.
I didn't know. Oh.
But they have a certain amount per day,
Fuck, that's
basically.
bullshit.
He has just used one of his legendary resistances. You knew that fucking spell worked.
Yeah.
But he's just gone, just through sheer force of will, he's gone, no, no, no! And, closed that little gate again that was, starting to, open up.
Yeah. Oh, well.
But he has burned.
We're fucked.
He's burned one of his legendary resistances.
Yeah, well, I burned through both my spells, so
Shit.
see you guys.
So the Doctor's already done his stuff. He was going to the engineers. So, the engineer on the left of the circus tent, there's now only 4 quasits lined up. The engineer is laughing his arse off. That last cannon fire, that was absolutely brilliant. That was hilarious. And he has not noticed the bear kind of slinking up on him, and so bear is going to have advantage on the quasit engineer.
Fantastic.
As he lays into him. I'm assuming just a big, just a general bear savage.
Yeah, absolutely. 23.
In one giant bite, it's just crushed its skull. And there's a kind of like a bit of a mass scream of consternation from the other quasits. There's a little bit of backing up, and then they're going to look at each other and just all jump on bear. However, the engineer is very much dead.
Bear, 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 bear.
Prometheus, you're up next, but you're now up and close and personal with... you're in the same part of the arena that has the Doctor and Gravedigger Mark there.
I would like to cast Hunter's Mark.
Yep, so that's a bonus action. So, yep, cool. So until this spell ends, you can deal... When you attack something, you deal an extra 1d6 damage to it.
Great. How long does the spell last?
Up to an hour, but if you take any damage, there's a chance you'll lose concentration on the spell.
Great, okay.
So you don't need to roll anything from it. That's just boom. That's your bonus action.
Great.
But you can throw an attack in as well if you wanted,
which I would very much like to do.
Excellent.
I kind of want to see what Gravedigger Mark's made of, so I'm going to go for him.
Excellent.
So 19.
19 is a hit.
17.
The arrow flies into his shoulder. Doesn't seem to be reacting at all.
Oh dear.
Right, so Harvey is going to attempt to struggle and get out of this. He does not do so well, and this means that Gravedigger Mark looks at the arrow for a second, and then he goes back to Sir Harvey. His grip tightens, and then he just pummels Sir Harvey directly into the ground. Stands back up, lightning crackling around his hands, looking for the next target. Sir Harvey is now about a foot into a divot in the ground, not really moving. Boulder's Brawler.
Alright, well, I am going to run over to that mirror. First thing I'm doing, I'm using a Moxie point to use Brace Up. Basically, just gets me some HP back. So it's 16 HP.
Cool, that's temporary hit points. They can sit on top of your regular hit points. You don't add them to your normal hit points, they're sort of separate.
And then what I'm also going to do, Haymaker. Before you make an attack that does not already have disadvantage, you can declare you are swinging wild haymakers. You make all weapon attack rolls until the end of this turn with disadvantage, but when you deal damage, you do not roll for the weapon's damage die, it is a maximum result automatically.
Go for it.
So
rolling a disadvantage for maximum damage.
Yeah. That was a 3.
Yeah.
It's my first attack. I've got my second attack.
Okay, so yes, per attack.
My first one's gone...
Yeah.
So that's 18.
Okay.
23.
So an 18 is a hit.
Oh, right.
So you automatically do maximum damage on your 1d6 plus 5, which we figured out earlier is 11. The first attack was basically a bit of a little bit of a jab, just to see where the weak point was.
Yeah.
And boom. Thornton, your go.
Right, you think it's the mirror, don't you?
I do.
Do you think that's his source of power?
I think it's just like a battery, basically, a power pack. I'm basing this just on video games. Whenever there's something glowing in the corner, you go, hey, I'm at
So I'm going to cast Agonizing Blast at it, but avoiding dumbass?
Yeah. You should be able to hit it from here.
I'll do both.
You've hit smaller targets from here.
I'll do both my beams.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's not good. Second one is... So the second one is 9.
Yeah, that's a miss.
Okay.
The Gravedigger, he's dropped the twitching body of Sir Harvey, and he just kind of steps onto him, and there's a sickening crunch as he walks over, and he's walked straight over to the Brawler, and his arm snakes towards you and encircles your throat. I'd like to make me a strength saving throw, please.
Okay. 26.
Just beats it. You prise the grasping fingers and thumb away from your throat, and this huge undead-looking humanoid looks very angry at you.
I'm like Kane when he's trying to trade choke slams with each other.
Nice.
While everyone's distracted by this, Dr. Thililid has produced a metal bucket. It's going to throw its contents at Prometheus. This is going to be a dexterity saving throw.
17.
There was a liquid in that bucket. It's gone past you.
Lovely stuff.
It hisses on the ground behind you.
Sounds like caustic stuff.
The doctor has realised, possibly too late, what you're trying to do. And he's going to run over to you, Brawler, with a flurry of like kind of clawing and biting. That's going to be 18 slashing damage and another Constitution saving throw, please.
Right, so just before I do the Constitution, I had 16 temporary hit points. Those
Yeah,
are wiped out and I lose 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is exactly how it works. So you're all good with that?
21.
Nice.
Yeah, you're fine. And then he's going to turn around to Prometheus and try and bite you. Yeah, that's a hit. So you're going to take 11 piercing damage. And can you make me a Constitution saving throw, please? So that's
6.
6. Oh, that's not good. As his jaws sink into you, that feeling you got when you were enveloped by the darkness, like earlier on in the Hall of Mirrors, that comes back to you, and you take an additional 12 psychic damage.
My lord.
The last we saw from Bear, he was covered in quasits. I'd just like an attack roll from him to try and shake them all off. Yep, all of a sudden, all of these like little quasits that were dogpiling him, essentially, he manages to throw them all off. But that's pretty much his go for this round. But it's your go, Prometheus. At the moment, the mirror is. I was going to say it's kind of. The surface of it is almost juddering a bit, and the wrought iron framework around it is bent and broken in places from all the damage it's taken. The Doctor and Gravedigger Mark, they're still looking relatively fresh.
Gonna ping one at the mirror. Gonna lick off some shots.
Cool.
13.
That's a hit.
Oh, nice.
Hey.
Well, it's just a mirror.
It is just a fucking mirror. Yeah.
You've aimed for a sort of like particularly violently fluctuating part of it, and your arrow's gone into it, and yeah, it appears to have done some damage to the mirror. So Harvey is dead. Let's just throw him.
0 HP, nobody gives a shit.
Well, yeah. So Harvey is currently rolling death saving throws. Let's say.
Okay.
So the Gravedigger, he's going to try and grab you again.
Right.
So another strength saving throw, please.
Come on, big boy.
17.
Not quite enough, as you are lifted above the ground about 9 feet and slammed by your throat back into the floor of the circus tent. That's going to be 18 bludgeoning damage.
Well, funnily enough,
shit.
I have 18 HP.
Puts you on 0.
However,
Yes.
I am going to use
Oh,
my
that's
relentless endurance.
Hell yeah.
Comes
Half
from
orc.
being half orc, which means you don't die instantly on that. Well, you don't even go into a coma on that. You get 1 HP back.
Yep.
So
And you have just been chokeslammed as well. This is pure fighting spirit.
So I've been choke slammed down, but I've done the old Shawn Michaels kickflip back up.
The second thing he's going to do is fire some lightning at Prometheus.
Oh, no.
Prometheus, another dexterity saving check, if you will.
Dodge it. Yes, 20.
You're all good, you're only going to take half damage.
Nice.
That's just going to be 15 lightning damage.
Fucking hell.
It is Brawler's turn.
What's the state of that mirror?
Pretty weak.
Right, I'm going to burn off a moxie point on the old 1-2, as it's called, which basically just means I get to double my attack.
Yes.
So I already have 2 attacks, so I get 4. I'm just going to wail on it with Fists of Plenty. So it's 4 attacks on the mirror, basically.
Yep, go for it. Just roll all 4 of them.
That's a nat 20 for one.
Nice.
2 of them hit, 2 of them miss.
And then you get, like, so it would normally be 2d6, but then you get 3d6 because one of them was a crit. You're going to do at least 11 damage. So
Okay, I do get something special when I get a crit 20.
Oh, it's an orc
I
thing,
forgot
right?
to mention it earlier. Yeah, it's
You get to add
Savage
you
attack.
get to add an additional damage die. So I
Nice.
think either way, this is enough. That
it'll be
last
15 plus 18.
hit is enough that the mirror shatters. Gravedigger Mark looks very concerned, and as he's reaching out, just turns to ash and just crumples. Dr. Thillard is going, no, my trick is ruined! Everything is ruined! And all of a sudden, the mirror starts compacting in on itself, as does Dr. Thillard. Those gangly arms are just like making sounds like dry wood as he's compacting in on himself. Both drop to the ground at the same time. There's gasps of like shock from the audience, who immediately start to do the same things. Goom, 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 and just drop to the ground and lay there inert. As this happens, there's that similar flash of static, and all of a sudden you're no longer in this nightmarish circus tent. You're back in the big top as it was. You are surrounded by dead bodies of humans and a clown with a single tear rolling down his cheek.
Is Harvey dead?
Yes, he's very much dead. He's kind of he's almost part of a footprint in the,
I'm okay
in the
with
muddy
this.
ground.
I mean, I've soul searched and I've decided it's alright.
As you
Lot
can
of
hear,
soul set.
and as you
It
can
took a
hear
few
the
seconds.
as you can hear the cries of survivors and the clamour of the town guard outside, you wonder just how in the nine hells you're going to explain your way out of this one. You've survived the circus. Well done, everyone.
Nice.
Thank you very much, mate.
I didn't think that was going to
For
happen.
the record, I just want to add in canon, I go up to Prometheus and I say, well, I owe you a gold coin. Can I borrow a gold coin?
I get half of that.
So now the pod is done. Just a few, I guess, like, I don't know, behind the scenes making of stuff. I've just asked Tommy, obviously in that final encounter we rolled to see who came out of the mirror, and I did the awful roll that got us the all-powerful Undertaker. What were the other options? What could have happened?
So yeah, this would have been a choice of 10 wrestlers, and so we're doing in ascending sort of scariness.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, you'd have had Shockmaster. He would have come out of the portal, tripped over, his helmet would have come off, and he wouldn't have lasted very long.
Amazing.
Number two would have been Zodiac from the Dungeon of Doom, and Dr. Thillard would have looked a bit annoyed and disgusted. Number three would have been the Berserker. Huss.
Nice.
His entire thing would have just been throwing people around. He'd have probably thrown someone into the audience. Yeah, now that the game's over, you didn't want to venture into the audience. Bad things would have happened
I
in
thought
the
about that.
weird, faceless audience. Number four would have been probably a goblin tag team based on the Powers of Pain, the Warlord and the Barbarian. Yeah, lots of general getting knocked to the ground, getting elbow drops, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Number five would have been Gangrel. Vampire with shades, trying to blind you with his blood mist. He'd have done the life drain thing where he'd have bitten you and taken stolen hit points from you. So for a couple of these, there's a bit of D&D nerdery that you need to be familiar with. There is a race of underground dwelling dwarves called Dweirgar, and there would have been a hacksaw Jim Dweirgar. Who is a dwarf who came out with a 2x4, but Dweirgars can enlarge themselves to about 3 or 4 times their size. So that would have happened. There'd have been a ho, and there'd have been a big 2x4 in everyone's faces. 7 would have been Papa Shango.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, you really missed a fucking trick there.
What he would have done is made you do that green vomit thing that he did on the Ultimate Warrior, and there might have been an element of possession there. Number 8 would have been the motherfucking Iron Sheik. There would have been a lot of chest slapping, a lot of "make you humble." Again, this is the other bit of D&D nerd stuff. There is another creature in the D&D mythology, which is this huge insectoid, like almost a giant cockroach that walks on 2 legs, and is called an Umber Hulk. That would have been wearing a bright yellow shirt with Hulk rules written on it.
Nice.
You'd have had Umber Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
and then 10 was the Undertaker.
Yeah.
So
was Undertaker was the worst.
yeah, the worst thing that could have
I don't
happened.
feel so bad about firebombing Michael and then stealing half a gold coin.
Well, just because we're just recording some sort of backstory to all this, I did write like a 2-page biography of my character.
Jesus Christ. You gave us a lot.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done that.
I was obviously doing a play on the gimmick I keep pitching Josh as a joke, the Brighton Brawler, which in turn is based on the wrestler, the Brooklyn Brawler, who's arguably a joke. I mean, he is. Who are? Well, I just wanted to say thanks once again for that, Tommy, and
Yes, thank you.
hopefully we'll get another one in the bag somewhere down the line.
No worries, really glad you enjoyed it. Fingers crossed for a second one.